Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
On that note, hi everyone, welcome to this... Wait! On this episode of Geeky Gentlemen, we will be discussing a special topic, because it's a special episode posted on October 31st, aka Halloween. I hope everyone is having a wonderfully spooky and creepy Halloween. Today we will be discussing the relation between horror on film, or just horror in general, I suppose, and budget. I think we're mostly going to be talking about movies, but I think we can maybe venture into stage plays and potentially comic books, since that's a medium without a budget. And, you know, it just seems like there might be some stuff worth discussing there. So, we were throwing around ideas for what to do for a special episode, and we kept talking about, okay, what about, you know, big studio horror versus independent horror, and a couple, like, we were talking about effects in horror, which is better, practical or digital, and yada yada, and it just seemed like a lot of the ideas we were discussing came down to whether or not you have a budget. So, here's the ultimate question of this episode, which we will try to answer, and I'll go through and we can do a yes or no. And the question is, does a budget make a horror movie better? This isn't a question of, does a horror movie need a budget to work? It's a question of, does a high budget make a horror movie better? Connor, we'll start with you.
Well, that's quite the topic. I haven't thought about this, but we just saw The Shining, which is obviously a movie that had a budget behind it. And I think Kubrick really used that budget and made something that was remarkable. But that's Kubrick. He's mostly the exception rather than the rule. I think about horror films that I really like. I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I love Psycho. I love Twin Peaks' Fire Walk with Me. These are all movies that struggled with budget. You know, Psycho had issues, like, when it came to which studio was going to fund it, because nobody wanted it. Mm-hmm. So, I would say the mark of a great horror film is, made for me anyways, is one that overcomes its budgetary limitations and really highlights the strength of the filmmaker. But I think that movie would have worked, like, whether it had a bigger budget or not. I think ultimately a good horror film comes down to whoever is telling the story regardless of the budget.
Okay, Rasco, how about you?
Okay, so I'm going to say that no, having a bigger budget does not make a horror movie better. That being said, sometimes it has. Alien, before Ridley Scott sat down and created the entire storyboard for that movie himself, the budget was much lower, and they weren't going to be able to do certain things like create the entire set for the space jockey's chair, and all that. So you wouldn't have had that whole scene, and the movie would have drastically been impacted if he wasn't able to get the budget increased by doing a full storyboard. But I also love movies like It Follows, which is super low budget, and if you could make that movie for more money, I would say no, don't make that movie for any more money than it was made for. That needs to be this kind of like small little indie horror film that kind of has a little small homey homey kind of feel to it when you're just watching it, because you can feel it, but it doesn't feel cheap. It just feels kind of different than a big studio. It feels more intimate.
Okay, Deadpoolzilla?
I'm in the belief that as long as the story is good, it can, a film can work regardless of budget. Budget helps, money always helps. But I've seen multiple films that I can name right off the back that had a shoestring budget and really told the story. Like Rasco said, It Follows. Hell, Texas Chainsaw Massacre had a below average budget, and it did well with what it had. I think it comes down to story over substance, really, and that's kind of what the driving thing is here with what I think Connor, Rasco, and I are trying to say is that, yeah, it's story over substance. And again, budget helps, but when you look at films like Evil Dead 2, Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even Krampus by today's standards, that was a low-ass budget. They can all tell good stories because they had a person with vision, writers behind it who had a lot of passion for it, and they knew where to put their effects and where to put their money.
Okay, I guess I'm going to be not quite the odd man out, because I certainly agree with everything you guys are saying, and I just wish I could come up with an example off the top of my head, which, of course, I'm not going to be able to do. But I know I've seen movies where I'm like, this is a good idea. This has smart writing behind it, and it's working fairly well. But the budget that they have clearly does not allow them to execute what they want to execute on film. And so I feel like you often will get this, and again, god damn it, I'm kicking myself that I can't think of an example.
I got an example for you.
What?
I love New Nightmare, but I think when they go to hell, the ambition outreaches their grasp.
Yeah.
Like, the final shot of Freddy is embarrassing, honestly. Where, like, it's this weird, like, expanding, like, effect, and it's like a weird, like, picture that freezes up but kind of moves, and then there's, like, a lot of the matte paintings and special effects just don't look good, and I really wish the budget would have been bigger.
Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 2 is an example where they clearly have some interesting ideas just from a set design perspective. They have a lot of really interesting ideas about what they want to do with this whole maze kind of thing, and yet, it's supposed to be like stone walls, but people get thrown up against them and they just slightly bend so you can tell it's laminate put on the goddamn wall.
Oh, Ian Payton.
Well, like, I don't like either of the first two Hellraiser movies, and I have no inspiration to go see any of the further sequels, but that's an example where, like, you have at least conceptually a good idea here, and maybe you guys are all talking about, well, when the writing's good enough, it can overcome budgetary limitations, and I would tend to agree with you, but what if the writing is just okay, and the budgetary limitations don't allow the visuals to compensate?
That's a good argument.
Because, like, that's the thing, is, like, we've talked about this a number of times on the show, about, like, how the standard of something being just okay does not exist anymore. It's either all the most brilliant, life-changing thing ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
It's either the most life-changing thing ever, or it's complete shit. Well, like, I feel like a lot of movies just have, a sort of okay script with some interesting ideas here or there, but what could really help sell it is a really unique and interesting visual element, but unfortunately they don't have the budgets to make it happen.
Yeah, but sometimes a film can have a fuck ton of budget, and this happens more often than not. A movie can have a fuck ton budget and still have a mediocre script. We had this...
Saw. All the Saw movies are...
No. I was going to say, Rasco and I had this argument with you about a week ago about a certain other film, didn't we?
What movie? I already forget.
Avatar. We had an hour argument with you about the mediocre-ass script of Avatar. And
it's not... It's just an okay script. But we're not going to get into
Oh,
this
God.
shit.
Oh,
It's
God.
going to go on fucking hours.
Don't rope me into this. Don't rope me into this.
we're focusing on horror right now. We're gonna stay on horror. No, but like you're right. There are things where like the script's mediocre, but the budget can come in and make visuals pick up the pace. And once again, film is a visual medium. Anyone that says that it isn't doesn't understand film. I'm sorry. End of story. It's a visual medium. You want to argue with me? You tell me you can get the same emotional reaction from watching your favorite movie as opposed to reading its screenplay.
Yeah.
I want to hear someone make that fucking argument because I will just slam you.
You could make the argument that that a book can give you that same kind of visual feel in your mind.
No, you can't. You can't.
I would just disagree. I feel like your mind can play
your mind can play tricks on you, but the whole point of your mind can't give you a performance that you can't imagine.
I disagree on that one, but that's...
No, literally, your mind, yours, this is where we get into philosophy and logic. Your mind cannot provide to you a performance that you cannot imagine. Only an actor in a film can do that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you can't win that argument. By definition, you cannot.
I agree with that. I mean, that's a big reason why I like film so much is because, like, I could never create the Michael Fassbender Magneto, or I couldn't do that, but like he can. So it creates it's the humanity of film that I really love,
and that's what makes film such an
performance.
awesome collaborative process.
Yes, it's like you're letting whatever the actor Bryan Cranston, you're letting him come in and like no one ever could have created the Heisenberg that we all fell in love with on the page.
I want to stick on horror for examples if we can. But yeah, like Freddy Krueger is an awesome character. Not all of that, like most of it doesn't come off the page. Most of it was Robert Englund's performance. That's what gave him all the charm, and that's part of what doesn't work about the remake. And yeah, there's a movie where they got a huge budget, relatively, for it, and none of it worked. I mean, the visuals look cool, but it doesn't, I'll admit, it doesn't pick up for the lacking script and wooden performances.
Can I talk, what I think of what's interesting about horror specifically is when it comes to horror, there's a distinct lack of ambition over time. You listen to George Romero talking about Land of the Dead. Wait, what was the third one called? What was the third Dead movie called? Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. He said he wanted to make that Ben-Hur with zombies. Like, he wanted that to be friggin' huge. But he could not find any funding for it. So he had to make most of it underground. So the thing about horror is horror movies nowadays, they make so much money compared to their budget because their budgets are like $5 million. And like, well, I mean, with the exception of like the Conjuring movies, which only have like a budget of like $20 million, and they turn a profit of like $100 million just domestically. So it's a really interesting thing where we aim low so we can get bigger returns, but those same returns with a budget of like Avengers, it would be considered a bomb. So we always aim low with horror and comedy, but mostly with horror we aim low. You see, in comedy we have this history of gigantic comedy spectacles, whether it be It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, or Steven Spielberg's 1941, or Peter Bogdanovich's What's Up, Doc. We have these gigantic comedic set pieces that you just don't see in horror films. So horror has this weird little brother sort of history, and even when we go into stuff like comic books, it's always like throwing back to like Grindhouse or monster movies in like one location. Honestly, the most ambitious horror films I can think of are like Godzilla movies.
And see, I wouldn't even call kaiju giant monster films horror. They just seem like their own thing at that point.
You're
don't
right.
they?
You're right. I would
say. Oh, I'm sorry, Connor. I was just going to say that probably one of the bigger, higher budget films would be Poltergeist in a way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Prometheus, Alien Covenant. That will be more in the vein of horror.
Yeah, and like it's weird for me because I get really annoyed. Like I talked about this with Rasco. I kind of hate Steven Spielberg now, and not because he's a bad director or anything like that. But I feel like when he made Jaws, and when he talked about the fact that the mechanical shark didn't fucking work, so he had to rethink how he was going to direct the movie to use it as little as possible, and it turned it into this super suspenseful horror movie that, like, everybody loved. I feel like he gave lazy horror filmmakers in particular, just an out of this idea that, oh, well, we never have to show the monster. We can just use suspense. I'm like, no, fuck you. You don't get to do that. You need to show me your goddamn monster. You need to make it work.
Because a lot of the times horror movies are about the monster, but Jaws wasn't necessarily about the shark. It was about the three men. And that's what made it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is a lot of horror movies are about the monster, or are supposed to be about the monster, but all we do is follow the, random generic teenagers around.
And what's interesting is that Rasco went to the to Prometheus and like Alien Covenant, but the thing is, to the studios, that's a science fiction film.
Yeah,
we can spend this much money. We can't spend this much money on a horror film because we've been so accustomed as a society and as a culture and as people to pay things of aim low so we can get medium returns, but because we aim low, they're big returns.
I mean, also, when you go to a studio and you say horror, I want funding for a horror movie, they think these are the kind of sets that they think of immediately. They think of, houses, barns, forests. They think of really
asylums.
Sets.
Yeah. Yeah, they need
so
like
those
really...
are the kind of movies that they're more likely to greenlight. The generic, house, ooh, spooky, oh god, like, barn, old barn, ooh, look at the shack. Like, that's what they're willing to spend money on.
Yeah, because, I would stand to argue this, that horror films are still kind of looked down on, in a way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're like, it's very much like...
Wes Craven said you will never get an Academy Award for a horror movie.
Sadly...
And I think he's still right on that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
People would argue Silence of the Lambs, but I wouldn't say it's a horror film.
That's a psychological thriller.
It is.
Yeah, I would say that, it's the same thing with, like, heavy metal, not getting a lot of recognition in the music genre because it doesn't conform to that kind of norm. That's the same thing with horror films, is that it doesn't conform to the same norms that most moviegoers go to. It is, it's sometimes taken to too many extremes, and unfortunately, it goes back, when movie producers and whatnot look at the numbers, they're like, yeah, why should we put money into this when we can do this and know we can get money? It's the same thing that happened to Guillermo del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness. He was going to get all this funding to do that H.P. Lovecraft story, but nope, it went to a fucking Shrek movie.
Donkey!
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
Donkey!
Yeah, just let that sink in. Guillermo del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness, one of the greatest H.P. Lovecraft stories, lost its funding to a fucking Shrek movie.
Did it lose its funding? Because I thought that he just decided he wasn't going to make it because Prometheus was going to be coming out, like, really at, like, almost the exact same time, and he didn't want to, like, make a movie so similar in that, and he thought it would come across as too similar. Not that those really are that similar, but he thought that they would come across very similar.
I just heard it. They lost the funding to another film, and apparently it was a Shrek movie. You could be right, because I hear so many different things from Hollywood. You never get the official fucking...
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's frustrating, and so yeah, like the impulse. I feel like what all you guys said, it's true, but it's also the easy answer. The impulse is, when you have a good story, you don't need a high budget. Yeah, sure, but what if you just have an okay story, but a really, really cool idea that would be fucking awesome to see? Like, it's so crazy, but I love me some grindhouse B-movie horror movies sometimes.
Oh, schlock is the best.
Schlock is the best. And they have some really, really creative ideas that, yeah, the script's nothing. The script is laughable. But it's just such a neat fucking premise. It's such a neat idea. And could you imagine if it was realized with a proper budget?
I know.
Can you imagine if some schlocky premises were realized with a okay,
You know what? Okay, okay.
stupid fucking Grindhouse movie. I love the idea. I don't care. I would love to see an A-budget movie.
Wait, what's the
SSSSS is the only way to pronounce it.
what?
A guy turns into a snake.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Is that an actual film?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out and look for this movie. I want to go look for this
the
movie.
trailer. It's the most Grindhouse trailer you'll ever see. It's got like the announcer and everything, and he's like, "Don't say it, it."
I'm gonna go look for this movie now. We're gonna do a commentary on this movie one day, Ian.
I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's a bad movie, but like that's just a really fucking kooky, cool, schlocky idea, and that would be fucking amazing to see brought to screen in a really like just gore movie style with an A+ budget. It's never gonna happen. Because you would need to spend too much money either on the CGI or the practical effects to do it. To do it well, you know.
Yeah.
Like in the movie, they
like,
basically just like have the guy, like, I think they just covered him in rubber cement and he's just pulling it off to show that he's shedding like a snake.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, speaking of like schlocky B movies with cool premises, I think that's what like Suicide Squad should have been, like a schlocky B movie with like a really big budget. Like, could you imagine Suicide Squad with the manic energy behind the camera of like Robert Rodriguez?
Oh God, he would have been a great fit.
God, he would have been perfect for a Suicide Squad film.
Danny Trejo is the Joker.
No, I would have said Danny Trejo would have been like
El Diablo.
Yeah, he would have been El Diablo.
Danny Trejo is Amanda Waller.
No. He would make his wife
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez. He would make her Waller.
Harley Quinn and
No, it's just like
Selma Hayek is
Jay, I'll
Harley
kick your
Quinn.
ass, Mr. J. Don't bitch talk. Don't bitch slap me, Mr. J.
Yeah.
Like
there
Selma Hayek
are
would.
episodes. Okay, guys,
Sorry.
we're done with Suicide Squad. There are episodes of Tales from the Crypt, and I love Tales from the Crypt, and it had some just fantastic talent in the producer chairs, but it still had to keep a fairly low budget, all things considered. Like, could you imagine? You know, it was an HBO show. Could you imagine if Tales from the Crypt were remade today with the same studio and got the Game of Thrones treatment? Could you imagine how fucking awesome that could be?
Yeah,
Like, shooting all over the world simultaneously every season?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be terrific. I mean, does anyone remember that episode that Arnold Schwarzenegger made in the show?
Yeah, Bill and I talked about it. Bill went on a 15-minute rant about how it's the stupidest idea ever. Yeah, there's just shit like that. There's, and obviously not every single episode, but this is why I get annoyed with horror movies and their budgets and like I was saying, you guys all gave the same answer. Well, it doesn't matter if the story's good. Sure, but that's a stupid answer.
Well, okay.
What?
I was mostly aiming at the storyteller. Like a good director, I think, is what can beat a budget and a mediocre script.
No, I got you. I'm just saying, it's just that's the easy go-to answer. But when you think about the possibility,
that is the best answer, honestly. Because
no, it's the easy go-to answer. I mean, you can't argue that you're wrong. Yes, good stories on film are a good thing. I'm not going to argue against you with that. But my point is, even if it's just an okay story, who the fuck wouldn't sit down to watch, a proper big budget adaptation of some schlocky horror movie premises? Wouldn't that just be fucking fun?
It would be, but we'll never get that. That's the harsh, shitty reality.
Yeah. And so that's just where I am with it. I'm that's why I think that I would like horror movies to get bigger budgets. And I think that, I'm not sure, I guess the question then becomes, how could we get horror movies to have bigger budgets?
I think you need like that one horror movie to really break some molds and really show off what it can do with a budget it has, and then hopefully a studio can go, oh, let's put some more money in the sequel.
Well, okay,
It's disappointing that Universal wants to kick off their whole MonsterVerse thing, and yet they don't really want to make it too horror. They want to make it more, superhero. And so it's just going to, like, not really be a horror franchise. And just imagine what it could do for horror if it was actually a horror franchise.
Yeah, but Mr. Deadpoolzilla, in regards to what you had said, I would argue we did get that one film, and it was The Silence of the Lambs, because to a large audience that was a horror film. But the thing was, that's a movie that purposely had a really crummy budget. That was like using like cheap film stock, really cheap sound equipment, and it was supposed to be a bit of like a sleazy looking movie. And it won Best Picture, it won Best Director, won Best Actor, won Best Actress, it won the Big Four. It was like this huge thing, and they did put more money into the sequel, Red Dragon, and they got stupid Brett Ratner to direct it, and they had
No, Red Dragon was after Hannibal.
Oh, was it? Okay, so they made Hannibal. Who directed Hannibal? Ridley Scott, that's right. So they got Ridley Scott, they got a bigger budget, and they really went for it, and it just didn't turn out as well. And then they made like Red Dragon, which didn't do as well as Hannibal. So it's like there was a chance.
Ed Norton was so good.
We had a chance back in the 90s, and it just didn't work throughout the 2000s.
Yeah, but like he was talking more where a horror movie got a big budget to start and was really successful with that big budget.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that you really need a studio to really just have the balls and go, have this money, go nuts.
Yeah, and well, we have the two Conjuring movies, which I like the Conjuring movies, and they make bank at the international box office. I really liked Lights Out, and I think that we've been getting a lot of good horror movies lately, whether it be.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Conjuring, both films, because I think it's the director who has been he's been using that budget well as this guy. As long as they keep what's his name, James Wan, right?
Yeah.
But on top of that, Lights Out was really solid. I really like Lights Out. But we also have like the person who did the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe. These are all like movies in like within the year that have gotten really good critical and financial reception. I think maybe in coming up soon, we might actually start seeing more money in horror.
Let me just throw this joke out there before it becomes completely irrelevant, and Deadpoolzilla will be the only one to laugh. Connor, was Don't Breathe written by Stephen Moffat?
I don't get it.
Deadpoolzilla, no reaction to that? None?
What?
Was Don't Breathe written by Stephen Moffat?
Want to say yes, but I could be wrong.
You didn't get the joke. Okay.
I'm talking to somebody else. Oh.
What?
My parents just came in the house.
Oh, well, god damn it. That was a good joke. That was a good joke, Doctor Who joke.
You know what? Somebody somewhere is listening to this and laughing. So
yeah. God damn it, I hate that feeling.
I'm gonna have to watch it and see the joke, because now it's gonna be pointless to have it said again.
Well, he was talking about the movie Don't Breathe, and I asked if it was written by Stephen Moffat, because it's teenagers in a house and they can't breathe, otherwise the guy will find them. Like all of Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who episodes. See, explaining the joke makes it so much funnier.
Well, I wasn't listening to it again, so.
God damn it. Alright, fine, whatever.
Oh, man.
No, but, like, that would be amazing, Connor. But I don't know what exactly needs to happen. I think part of it would be someone succeeding, but, we need... I think more importantly than succeeding just financially is we need both critical success and success from and a lot of audience interaction with it. And I mean that would come with a financially successful movie, obviously, but we need people to we need people to react to a big budget horror movie in the same way that they do like a big budget superhero movie. We need, it's been since the 90s, 80s and 90s since we've had an icon of horror. Yeah. You could maybe argue Jigsaw, but it's a rough argument.
Yeah. Because it's never one Jigsaw. We need that one icon, and sadly we haven't had that. I mean, they tried to do that with the Gallows. Huh?
That's what we need back. We need Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees back. We need a new Michael Myers for this generation. And, you could maybe argue that with Jigsaw, but it's a different guy every fucking... The Ghoul?
Bagul! You haven't seen Insidious, or not Insidious,
Sinister.
Sinister, yeah, Sinister.
Bagul.
No, I have...
I think Bagul never caught on because his name's Bagul.
That's why I think he has caught on.
And it's interesting because people are getting more and more interested in horror. It's weird to talk about because I did want to branch this out from just film, and I didn't expect to go this direction. But where we might see a huge interest in horror and start a real following and start doing interesting things with the medium is video games.
Yeah. I mean, there's Don't Starve is terrifying, and that was a shoestring budget for a game like that.
Yeah, and then we got Five Nights at Freddy's. We got Slender.
We got what's the other? I'm trying to think of another one. There's another one called Fauna something. It's based on a little girl trying to find her cat. It's a lot more scary than it sounds.
Well, no, I just those are all really low budget games. Even the new Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, which obviously has more of a budget now, is purposefully staying kind of, low to the ground and just trying to make it feel like the second or like the first game still. But there's a really big resurgence going on with horror now. I was at the Halloween store a couple weeks ago. There are Five Nights at Freddy's costumes.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've actually found on YouTube someone went through the trouble of making a Five Nights at Freddy's haunted house attraction.
Oh my god! Fuck that! Fuck that!
Do you not like that idea, or?
I would never fucking enter that house. Never in a million years could you pay me to enter that house.
Well,
okay, all right. Let me talk about Five Nights at Freddy's for a second. I saw Let's Players play the first game. I was like, oh, okay, jump scares, that's kind of fun. And then Sister Location came out. And I started seeing people play Sister Location. Their fucking faces open up, and they talk to you now. I just can't, guys. I cannot fuck with that shit. That is just too goddamn far for me. They fucking talk to you. No!
Yeah. Another game that had a short budget is, and this was done by Guillermo del Toro and Hideo Kojima. It's on a lot of Let's Plays where you just walk through a room continuously and the room constantly changes.
I have no idea. Yeah. But no, I just, I see horror getting more and more attention in the video game world. And maybe video games will take the cue from games like Five Nights at Freddy's and Slender and start making more, big budget horror games.
Yeah.
We got Alien Isolation. Rasco, was Alien Isolation good? Did it sell well?
It was a good game, but IGN bashed it, and I don't know how that affected its sales, but it was the most ridiculous bullshit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Oh no, they won't give a high score to Alien Isolation, but goddamn, they'll give another 5-star rating to another frickin' Call of Duty game, right?
Yeah, it was really annoying. that happens.
Yeah, and Alien Isolation is terrifying. You know, Evil. I don't know if you guys have played this, but Evil
I have.
Within,
I've played it. It's great.
Evil Within is awesome. Until Dawn. Oh my god.
Wait, is Until Dawn, like, does a guy, like, grab you and, like, put you on a meat hook or something?
It's one.
If you're, like, losing?
It's one of the ways you die, but it's actually there's a little more to that.
Well, no, I was watching a Let's Play of that today, and there's, like, some Michael Myers downloadable content.
No,
And so, like, you'll get chased by Michael Myers, and, like, the Halloween theme will start to play?
That's not Until Dawn. That's Dead by Daylight. That's another low budget. That's another low budget game.
Okay. I was just curious.
All right. I think I've been thinking about this while you guys have been talking. I'm actually okay with horror not getting a lot of budget.
I'm okay with it as well, for
And
the most
I'll
part,
tell you
honestly.
why. I've been thinking about it, and things stop being scary to me when they get too big. When things get too big and and it becomes too much about spectacle, I just don't care. It doesn't scare me. I lose interest, and I just want it to be over.
I disagree.
That's my issue with, like, the ending of the Shining book, where we have to have Jack Torrance smash his face with a roque mallet until you see, like, all the ghosts living in his face, and then he's a big lumbering monster, and then Danny has to go, "You forgot to dump the boiler," and then they all run out and they all live, and then the big hotel has to blow up. Like, you know what? Like, it gets too big for me, and I just lose interest. I'm like, oh, this is way too over the top for me. I just want this to be over now. And the scariest part to me at the end of The Shining is when the house starts to, like, shine on Dick Halloran, and he's like, maybe I should just leave his family to die, and I should just, like, take the snowmobile for myself. Like, that's the scariest part of that ending to me. And I mean, I think, and that's right there is when it goes smaller and more intimate, and, like, intimate fears are what scare me more than anything.
Interesting. You know, I can't disagree with the idea that horror works on an intimate level, but I'm tempted to make the argument that it just hasn't been done well on a grand scale yet, or well enough yet. Because I can't think of a good counter that's on a grand enough scale that works really well. And I just don't think it's been done yet is the problem.
That's a fair argument. But
I mean, you know, this will be really interesting because, like, I mean, from what we've heard about it, like, they're really steering into the, like, horror direction with Alien Covenant. I'm interested to see how that movie will, like, because Prometheus, even if that movie wasn't Prometheus, it would probably get a sequel because that was actually a very successful movie financially. So I'm interested to see how Alien Covenant does.
Yeah.
Because that could shake things up.
Yeah. I will say that, you know, and goddamn did that trailer fool us all, didn't it? I mean, Oh, I'm sorry, Rasco.
What trailer?
The trailer to Prometheus.
Oh, what about it?
I still think it's a pretty good trailer.
Oh, it is a great trailer.
The movie it's attached to is not so great.
Oh, well, I'm kind of having a weird shift in my relationship with that film where I'm really starting to like it a lot more. But, I mean, I acknowledge that it is a heavily flawed film, but there's a lot of things about it that I'm really starting to like.
Gotcha.
This has nothing to do with this topic, though, so let's get back.
Yeah. Anyway, so, like, yeah, Connor, I'll agree. Horror does work well on a close, intimate level. But I don't know, man. It's just, like, you could say the same thing a couple decades ago about superheroes, I feel.
no, because
No. Let me make my argument. Before Superman, before Donner's Superman, before you could believe a man could fly, I could see someone making the argument of superheroes with all their powers and stuff just work better in comics because you can't realize that visually, and so anything you do will just look silly. Manos used to do a series called retro casting, and he was talking about if they made superhero movies or just other franchise pieces back in the day, back in old Hollywood, who would he cast? And one of the things he talked about, he did a list of Spider-Man actors and stuff. It's a really interesting video. It's worth checking out. But one of the points he made that I feel is the reason you can make this argument that people would say similar things about superheroes to what you're saying about horror is he talked about casting Venom and Carnage. And he says this is where it breaks down because the technology, the ability of the time could not possibly capture the way those characters need to look in a way that doesn't look like shit. So my argument is that the only reason you don't think it can be done is just because it hasn't been done yet.
That is true.
I don't. Okay, but at the same time,
I think.
Okay. Here's where I don't get the argument. So the thing is, when it comes to superheroes, though, like those have a history in serials. Those have a history of being spectacles on the page. But when it comes to horror, horror's always been one of the genres. It's always been there. It's always been there since the beginning of film, and it will continue. But the thing with like something like Nosferatu, where I think like if it was 1927, that movie's a huge horror movie, or 1920, whenever that came out. The thing though is, you can do it right. I'm not saying you can't do it right. I think, the idea of a big, like, huge spectacle horror film that completely succeeds in being scary as a horror film, it's not impossible. In fact, I welcome the idea of it coming. I'm just saying, as a rule of thumb, since, I know, like, when it comes to, like, Hollywood producers and it comes to storytellers, I don't really trust storytellers in general to tell a huge horror movie. And I think when it comes to huge horror movies, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is the best one. And we just talked about that. So, like, that's something that really understood intimate horrors on a grand scale.
And see, this is such a hard thing to talk about because I'm arguing that you just haven't seen it yet because I haven't seen it yet. What is needed, what I think is the problem with writers imagining huge scale horror and trying to translate that to film is we're all essentially conditioned to understand horror on such an intimate, low budget kind of level that it would take someone with a very striking vision and imagination to realize horror not just in a way of, oh my god, that's really cool, but also in a way of, this is fucking terrifying.
And I guess the one director I can think working right now that could do that is Guillermo del Toro. And I don't think he has an interest in doing that right now.
I think if you gave Guillermo del Toro an infinite budget to do an H.P. Lovecraft Call of Cthulhu movie, I think he would jump on the fuck.
Yeah,
jump on.
Yeah, he would do that. And I don't think he's doing anything right now.
Maybe someone should call
Well,
him. Someone get Guillermo del Toro's number. Let's call him up at 1:30 in the morning.
Good old. Here's the thing about del Toro. He's always working on something. He has so many projects lined up. He's always leaving projects to work on other projects, which he'll leave to work on other projects. So, I'm sure, like, he really would like to do that. I just wanted to get around to finally doing it because I feel like del Toro's in a place right now where he's making the biggest movies he's ever gonna make right now. And then when he gets older, he's gonna go back to doing smaller stuff like, Devil's Backbone and Chronos when he gets older.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think Pacific Rim was probably his biggest film as of right now in his career, right?
yeah, but even stuff like Crimson Peak is pretty big for a...
Yeah, Crimson Peak had a pretty big budget.
And, like, he did Hellboy 2, and then Pacific Rim, and then Crimson Peak. Like, these are the biggest movies he's ever gonna make. Like, I mean, like, right now, this era of films that he's doing right now, I think these are the biggest movies that he's going to make. This is kind of like the peak as far as big films that he wants to make.
Yeah, and like I say, I think, you know, Cthulhu is the most terrifying thing ever, by definition. Part of the definition of Cthulhu is he is the most terrifying thing you can possibly imagine, because you cannot possibly imagine him. And if anyone could put that on film and make it terrifying and visualize it, I think it's Del Toro if he had the money to do it.
Yeah, and the studio willing to back him.
Yeah, that's the part. Is like to do Cthulhu on film and make it not a joke. You need the best CG artists in the biz.
Yeah.
There's no... You're not doing Cthulhu with practical effects. You can go eat a bag of dicks.
So, what you're trying to tell me is Kevin Smith is the best person to try to make a Cthulhu.
Why is that?
I'm being facetious.
I don't get the joke.
Oh, Kevin Smith is, like, really cheap, and, like, he always uses these, like, practical effects, and he basically nowadays just makes a bunch of, like, home videos with good special effects.
That's, yeah. I mean, fucking Walrus was amazing, right?
You mean Tusk?
Whatever. Who cares? Does anyone really care?
No.
Does anyone not know that movie is the movie where the guy turns the dude into a walrus?
Jean
Like,
Reno
really?
turns Justin Long into a walrus.
Yeah. I would love to see that. Now, again, I think you do have a point, Ian, where CGI, especially damn good CGI, would be the best way to do that. But at the same time, you know, you look at Beyond Terror and, you know, Reanimator, as well as Dagon had some CGI, but still, those are all H.P. Lovecraft stories that had, you know, low budget. But at the same time, this is, if you want to go by this film we're building in our heads, yeah, you would need a big budget to do the story of Cthulhu.
You would, and that's just part of it. And, like, I wouldn't want just Call of Cthulhu, I should mention, because that's a fairly low-budget thing. I would like, you know,
Mountains of
the
Madness.
Cthulhu... No, not just not just any one story. I want the entire mythos brought to film.
Like, as a giant, like, interconnected film, or an anthology, or what?
I'm not sure. I would want, like, the world of H.P. Lovecraft brought to film, because that was what made it all so fascinating, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but that's what made it all so fascinating, is it was all just this giant connected mythology where, like, every secret society in the world was all worshipping Cthulhu. They just didn't know it. And just, I want to see someone visualize that. That's, like, especially because Lovecraft wrote for his medium, so I'd like to see someone translate that to a completely different medium that it's not prepared for.
Yeah.
That just is a fascinating challenge, and it's the right kind of thing to do huge budget horror with, in my opinion. And Cthulhu is not something where you can do more by not showing. You can. You're gonna go to a Guillermo del Toro, you know, Cthulhu film. You're gonna want to see it, but you need to see it in such a way that it's not just, oh wow, that's really freaky looking. You need to see it in a way that, like, seriously fucks with you. You need something that's gonna stick with you after the fact. And not just like a cutaway, or not just like seeing the legs or the silhouettes like The Mist. You need something like visually, what's the word I want here? Impactful, memorable, striking.
Yeah, I can see.
And
Yeah,
you can only do that with a budget.
yeah. I would be totally down for that, but again, it's something we may never get, and that is in a way because horror is like the bastard child of the film industry.
Which is weird because it's one of the first. Like, not even one of the first. Like, okay, let me think here. besides just basically home videos. I think the very first film that tried to tell a fictional story was Thomas Edison's adaptation of Frankenstein. If I'm not I might be wrong on that, but I think I'm right. So horror is at the very beginning of film, arguably at least.
And yet it's still it's looked down on.
And that's crazy.
No, I disagree that horror itself is a very respected genre, but because so much horror stories come out of it, generally, we give it its just due of that was a bad horror movie, and there's a lot of bad horror movies that come out. But I think a good scary movie will make everybody happy. There's more good horror movies that come out than I think people give credit for.
Especially
well, then why have they never been recognized? Why
is Green Room is absolutely a horror film. Connor, would you argue that that's not a horror movie?
It's a situational thriller, midnight movie, gore fest. But
I mean, that hand chopping scene. If horror does not describe that emotion the most accurately, then nothing fucking does. That is horrifying. That is a horrifying.
Yeah, okay, I guess it would. If I were to walk into a movie rental store, it would probably be under horror.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is absolutely...
What's a movie rental store?
Oh, yeah, I only go there every weekend. So.
But, that movie's gotten a lot of praise by the internet and, the general film community. I don't know how the general public feels about it, but I think that is a movie that over time people will look back on really fondly.
But once again, Wes Craven died, and, his big point about why he does horror movies is... Well, because no one will ever give them an Academy Award for a horror movie. It's never going to happen. They'll never be recognized. And I hate to agree with them, but I think he's right.
But, I mean, Academy Awards are bullshit, though.
No, but, still, it's the fact of recognition.
It is, no,
if you're saying that
fair,
horror does
get
get recognized...
Bullshit. I don't...
If you're going to make the argument that horror does get recognized and is respected... then how come they can't win just one?
Because Meryl Streep needs another one on her mantle. I don't get the.
We need to get Meryl Streep in a horror
we're
movie.
Focused on, but what are the real numbers though? Because we don't really know. What are the numbers of people that are really out there that appreciate a movie like Green Room versus the actual amount of people out there that have really seen the movie Argo. And are like, wow, that was actually a great tour de force. How many people actually out there have seen so many people were fucking, cheering when Leonardo DiCaprio won Best Actor for fucking The Revenant. No one saw The Revenant. None of the people that I saw posting shit on fucking social media saw the fucking Revenant.
Yeah, okay, you know what, more to your point, Rasco, people like to get on the Oscars so white thing, but the great irony is, if anybody who wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio won that year, people would have rioted.
Yeah, I mean, he had
so
to win that year. It was the Leo year, and everyone was just so fucking had a hard-on for him that year, I guess.
You know what, that award should have gone to Michael Fassbender and Steve Jobs.
And I totally agree now, having seen Steve Jobs. I agree with you 100%.
Well, that's the problem with the whole Academy. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Crack did a really, really funny bit in one of their videos when they were talking about the Academy Awards. And they're 1970 whatever. The role for Best Actor was a competition between Jack Nicholson for Chinatown and Al Pacino for Scarface. And you know who won? Some fucking old guy for a movie about his cat.
Yeah.
And then, this guy's looking at him, he's like, that can't be true. No, it's not, but you thought it was for 2 seconds, and that's the problem. And the reason he gave was because the guy was a really old actor who'd been around for generations, and they knew he probably wasn't going to make another movie, so they just wanted to make sure he got his due. And so, the Academy Awards are all bullshit, but the point remains, why doesn't horror get any recognition there? If it's a respected genre. That's the thing is, what Academy Award winner is going to be in a horror movie?
Donald Pleasance in Halloween.
Has Ethan Hawke ever won a horror? He's been nominated before. Ethan Hawke is in a Sinister.
Sinister. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think.
it's something that's looked down on. You know, you don't see them seeking out those roles as often.
Wait,
you know,
guys,
you
guys,
won't
guys.
see once they make it, they'll go back to it. Like, you know, Jennifer Aniston's first. This is actually really funny. Jennifer Aniston's first big role was fucking Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt is in an episode of Tales from the Crypt. Really bad one, by the way. But
Hey, Matthew McConaughey was in Texas Chainsaw 4.
ooh.
Let's the next generation.
Yeah, but like, why haven't they ever gone back to horror if that's where they got their start?
Yeah.
Because it's just looked on. That's just one of those things that you do to build up. Very few of them feel the need to go back to it. I don't know. You know, there's some stuff like American Horror Story is not a show that I particularly care for, but it's at least building a reputation for horror that's getting some respect.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. You know, well, I mean, a big reason why, like, horror is one of those genres that really quickly kind of became about, like, a ride more so than, like, the experience of watching a film. Like, it became about, like, for like, the general public, at least. I mean, like, I've ranted, this will be the, like, a millionth time I've ranted about this in the past 12 months, but, like, horror, if you go to a horror movie, the people that you're going to be in the audience with are going to be the biggest fucking ass fucks you've ever seen in your entire life. They're going to be the most obnoxious people that have no respect for movies at all. They're going to be super loud. You're going to have the most annoying teenagers. They're going to be on their fucking phones the entire time. And that's what's going to happen when you go see a horror movie. The public kind of sees them almost as a ride, and even when they're great, it's like the experience is still hard to enjoy because they don't understand that what they're seeing is actually something better than schlock.
Well, and I love schlock to
Rasco,
death, so.
Every time
Well, I mean, and I like schlock too. There's a difference between schlock and like shitty schlock, and I mean like better than shitty schlock.
So, but Rasco, whenever you mention like horror and riot, I just think of that Red Letter Media video where they talk about like the Universal Studios Paranormal Activity ride. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's so funny. They're like, could you imagine this being a Universal Studios ride where you're just like in a little like tour bus and you're just like, you know, going around some rich white person's house and you're like, ooh, I like the furniture. Oh, what was that? Anyway, I like the indoor pool. What? Huh? Was that a kid at the top of the stairs? I don't know. Hey, that guy's asleep. Oh, okay. Like, ooh.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was at work today, and they were talking about how stupid the Paranormal Activity movies are. Where like the bitches in the kitchen, and like all the cupboards open up, and the plates go flying across the room, and she just like looks around, and is like, "Oh, that's weird." Like, get the fuck out the house. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really dumb fucking horror movies, and I don't want those to get big budget, and I know it's like a cash-in genre for a lot of people. I mean, the fucking Asylum studio exists for a reason. They know that, like, I think the Asylum studio exists solely to make movies that old people will see in discount bins and think, oh, Alien vs. Hunter. Yeah, little Billy was talking about that.
No.
It's my favorite grandchild. I'm going to get that for him so he can watch that movie that he's really wanted to see. And then, like, I think that is entirely what the business model of that studio
No, it is. That's exactly what it is. That's one. It's like you'll confuse people that don't know what the fuck they're looking for. And, like I saw this one. This was the best one. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it was actually an Asylum film, but it was called Israel, but the Z was really big, and it was like a ripoff of World War Z. It was like Israel. Was it made by zombies? And it was ridiculous.
Yeah, you got all that shit like snakes on a train and all this other. It's stupid. And
Transmorphers.
There's plenty of room for people to just go in to make a quick buck. And so, yeah, the genre is filled with that. But you know what? There's a lot of stuff in other genres. There's action movies made for a quick buck. There's comedies made for a quick buck. There's all kinds of other stuff in the genres. Why does horror get the short end of the stick on getting to deliver big budget stuff?
Because, again, I think it falls under a lack of care by studios when it can be made a quick buck and at the same time they can really invest money on something they know they can make a money off of regardless of how shitty it is.
And I think
You know what, I think what we really need is a filmmaker with like a lot of with a big reputation that can demand a big budget from a studio. We need a filmmaker to go in and want to make a huge budget horror movie and really, really sell it. And I think Del Toro's a good option for that. You know, it sounds weird, but I would love to see Christopher Nolan's take on horror.
I would
I
love
would-
that
yeah,
so
I
much.
think he would be so good at it. And you could say, Steven Spielberg got his making off of horror. And hell, Poltergeist was also a film he did with Tobe Hooper.
Yeah. I would love to see Steven Spielberg go back to horror again.
All right, here's my
That'd be
pitch.
fantastic.
Here's my pitch. Blumhouse has basically made their entire career off of making horror movies that cost $5 million that make like 30, 35, 40 million dollars at the box office. But
What's one of their movies?
it's one after the other. It's Insidious, it's Sinister, it's Paranormal Activity, it's every single horror movie that you've heard of from the last 7 years.
Okay.
Blumhouse, B-L-U-M.
If
House.
it's got a lot of S's in the word that is in the title, it's one of their films.
Yeah. It's like-
Shagadocious.
see, the thing about Blumhouse though is but they also will fund things like Whiplash or The Gift, really good films too. So
Yes.
the thing about
Gift is great.
Blumhouse, I think Jason Blum is doing a really good job of reminding Hollywood that you can make money by not spending a lot of money on just ridiculous amounts of blockbuster cinema, 200. You don't have to spend $250 million on a movie. You can spend $5 million. But I think if you're gonna do a big horror film, Blumhouse has all the money that they're sitting on to do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can just do $25 million horror films, get $120 million off of all that profit, and then make a $120 million budget horror film. Get a decent director what's his face? Joel Edgerton did a great job directing The Gift. You could maybe even get I don't know, not M. Night Shyamalan, but a decent Damien Chazelle. You could get Damien Chazelle to come on in and do a $120 million budget horror film and really make something cool, and it would come out of nowhere from Blumhouse Productions.
That'd be great. So we're getting pretty close to wrapping up here. And people have trick or treating or dressing like whores to do today. So
And we are talking about whores.
yep. I couldn't resist.
You know what?
that
You're
joke.
right, Ian. Whores don't get respect. They don't.
Yeah.
They just don't.
So, we're getting close to wrapping up, and so we started this with everyone giving their opinion, and you all went for the standard answer. So, through this conversation, have you been convinced that horror movies could benefit from having a bigger budget?
Oh, I think anything could benefit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a question of could it. It's, they could. It's just that
Do you think horror movies should get the benefit of having a bigger budget?
Yes,
then?
I do think
Yeah.
they should.
I guess. I mean, most of the horror premises that I can think of that would need a big budget, I think you could actually pitch to a studio in a way where they would shell the budget out. I mean, like Ridley Scott makes alien movies are horror movies in space. So, he does that, but because it's sci-fi, that's a premise that would necessitate the budget. And if you did want to do a Cthulhu movie, I think that's a premise that you could pitch to a studio where they'd see it almost as kind of like a supernatural science fiction-y thing, and then you could confuse them into being like, oh, so this is something worth throwing our money at. It's the kind of thing that deserves this money, and it will make our money back because it's this big, grand movie. So I think that most of the movies that would need that probably could. It might be a matter of how well the people trying to pitch those premises are doing that.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird, because I don't think we'd be having this discussion if Bram Stoker's Dracula didn't suck. I know that's a low blow. What?
That laugh was evil sounding.
Yeah. No, I really fucking hate Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh,
it is
I think
just it's not a bad movie necessarily, but it's a movie dripping with potential that just sucks because it just fucks itself over every turn. Like, everything it does right, it does like 3 things wrong. And so,
Have you ever watched Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? There's a movie that does everything that Bram Stoker's Dracula did wrong and makes it worse.
no, see, I fucking love Mary Shelley's Frankenstein compared to Bram Stoker's Dracula. There's Geeky Gentleman on both episodes. On both
Wait, is that the
movies.
one with Sexy Frankenstein?
It's Robert De Niro.
Oh, no. Never mind.
So no.
You're thinking of I, Frankenstein.
No, not... Well, actually, I'm thinking of a different, but still Sexy Frankenstein, not I, Frankenstein. I'm sorry.
A different.
I Frankenstein
but
was
still
a
sexy.
legitimately interesting premise that was just so stupid. Oh man.
I, Frankenstein
Anyway.
was the worst movie of 2014.
I really like the idea of heaven and hell battling over, man creating life. That's a really interesting idea, but nothing else in that movie works. Like,
Yeah,
literally
but
nothing else.
then you have stupid things like Gargoyle Order. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I know, I agree. It's stupid. But you gotta admit, the initial premise of heaven and hell battling over man's ability to create life now is genius.
It's a good idea.
Too bad it's not a good movie.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, like, if Bram Stoker's Dracula didn't suck, maybe we'd have more high-budget horror movies. What can you say? Oh well. I think that'll do it for this special episode of Geeky Gentlemen. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. This was a really, really good month on Geeky Gentlemen for Horror Month. I hope you join us for every episode of History Month. I promise it won't be too boring. I promise I will not just lecture at you about why white people are awful through at least half the episodes. I'll try my best, but I hope you join us for History Month and then for Holiday Month in December. So everyone, until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm Kruger, the Legend of Elm Street.
I am the creator.
And I am.
We're waiting, Connor.
I am.
Oh, just I am, okay. And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things with fucking God, apparently.
I thought the connection went bad for a second.
I did not know Connor was God.
Oh, sacrilegious of you to make such claim.
Music for this week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen was provided by 1 Ton Mass Rocket, 331 E-Rock, and P.